Central Catholic was our first stop in our high school football previews. Back on August 1st, they have just as many losses now as they did then. That's none. The last time the Irish were knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, way back in 2010, and they don't plan on repeating that feat this season, especially against their rival over on Airport Highway.
You're wondering how much that you saw before week 10 are you going to see? How much are you going to see that you saw week 10? And then what news coming? And you can drive yourself crazy. All you can do is keep preparing your kids and hope you don't get caught in something.
I feel like it don't really matter. Some people say it's harder to beat a team twice, but they got to play us twice again too, so it don't really matter. We just don't take nobody lightly. They gon' come hard, they gon' play hard, they gon' do a lot of talking, but we don't take nobody lightly, and we just come out and play our game still.
I think it's always nice being at home. It's something a little extra for the seniors, getting that last extra game on their home field, but at the same time, you don't want it to be your last game ever, so hopefully it serves as some extra motivation.
As for the Titans in the postseason for the second year in a row, that's the good news. But then there's facing the Irish. Although Central shut them out in that Week 10 matchup, 27-zip, St. John's hopes to use the tape as a tool for a different outcome here in Week 11.
Well, the biggest thing is they took away that if we do what we're supposed to do, the outcome may not have been exactly what it was. Now, that's not to say we're going to win the game, but we did a lot of things that we did that were very uncharacteristic of how we play. And they just realized that they had to settle down and treat it just like it was any other game.
I say it gives both teams an advantage because you just played your opponent, so you're no longer watching film from teams other than the track. You're watching film that you played. You don't got to go back to last year's film, so you just go back to last week's film and you know the things you can improve on. We learned that they're definitely a good football team, but we also learned that we're not 27 points. We're not a 27-point difference team. So we think there's a lot of things we can correct and there's a lot of things that we can do to win the game.
With more on this all-track matchup, here's the pigskin professor Mike Jewell with one of Jewell's gems.
Hey, again, we do this. 7-3 St. John's heading over to Cherry Street to take on 10-0 Central Catholic. I don't know if there's anything more joyful back in the early days of sports than the do-over, the rematch. It was a chance for the underdog to come back and show their spirit. We see it sometimes in the golf course in those little things called mulligans. But as far as high school football playoffs, I think it's a little bit awkward, but I don't see it as anything that's going to be especially helpful for one side or certainly not hurtful for either one. If there's one aspect of this that I like, it's the talented athleticism on the St. John's offensive side that is Brady Lichtenberg in the St. John's passing attack. They have seen what the fire and fury of Central Catholic's defense is, not on tape, but on the field. And I think, given the athletic skills and the solid performance of Lichtenberg in last week's game, we can expect an even better version of Brady Lichtenberg. Some other thoughts that come from the Week 10 action was the ability to Central Catholic to jump out and take the lead. Jonzel Norris in that 65-yard run was huge, and when it was backed up later by the block and the ability of Central Catholic to put it in the end zone of the punt, that gave them the 14-0 lead, and that gave Central's offense a comfort zone with which they used brilliantly the rest of the game. Lean on the defense and stay vanilla, not showing an awful lot, but there are great opportunities for Central's offense. And I think the biggest of all is the continued emergence of Troy Durden as that second threat, that legitimate threat to Norrells and Sharif McGee with the option and the zone read. And in playoff time, I cannot stress this enough, the brilliant and sparing, measured use of Jace Bowen all season long is now going to prove to be an absolute bounty for Central Catholic. This is going to be interesting. I think a much more interesting game than Week 10. I'm looking forward to it. Central Catholic, they are on a road to 5 more weeks. St. John's Jesuit, this is the opportunity of a lifetime, the do-over. Good luck to both teams. This should be a fun one for Northwestern Ohio fans.
Cannot wait. And here's a look at the games that we will have live look-ins from on Game Day Nation coming up this Friday. Starting off with Valley Forge at Anthony Wayne, St. John Central Catholic, that rematch. Olentangy and Whitmer as the Panthers have a home game. Springfield on the road at Avon. And then BCSN Now app exclusively start at Reynoldsburg. And then up in Michigan, Bedford at Livonia Franklin. Again, games that we will have live look-ins from on Friday night on Game Day Nation.